Right Worshipful Dibrell, tell us about your year as Grandmaster in 2001.
It was an exciting year for me, but service as Grandmaster starts a lot earlier than the year that you're installed. I was talking with Deputy Grandmaster Tom Griffin recently, and he indicated how busy he was, how frantic it was this time. And I've told many Grand Lodge officers that the year's Deputy Grandmaster is the most intensive. That's when you're doing all the real work. When you're a Grandmaster, you're simply executing those plans. If you have planned well, then being Grandmaster is really a piece of cake. You're just executing what you had planned. You deal with opportunities as they arise, and there are never any problems, but there are opportunities and changes of plans and adjustments as you go along.
It is said the Grand Master rules the Grand Lodge. Is this the right expression to describe his authority?
Serving as Grand Master is not ruling the Grand Lodge of Texas. It is serving. And I believe that serving in any office in any organization, Masonic or otherwise, is an opportunity to serve that organization, to promote that organization, to develop its activities, organize it in such a way that it can be an effective organization. I've always been an organizer and a planner. I'm a computer nerd by training, and therefore I've always been organized to a fault. So it's very natural for me to organize things.
Tell us about the new programs that came about during 2001.
We had several innovative programs that we started in 2001, and some worked and some didn't work. My greatest pride, of course, is the Internet Committee, which was formed for the first time in 2001, ably led by Dick Brown, I might add. There were a bunch of fellows that worked behind the scenes. They built the very first comprehensive website for the Grand Lodge of Texas. And also in 2001, every lodge in Texas had its own website. The Internet Committee made that happen. It wasn't something that I did. It was something that they did. We had a grand historian for the first time, and that lasted 1 year. It wasn't a continuing program, where the Internet Committee really did last, and it's flourished since that time. We had a committee for innovation in computer facilities to help with lodge record keeping. Didn't get much done in 2001, but the same group of guys finally got a lot done in 2002 and 3. So we planted some seeds there that came to fruition. We focused on Texas history in 2001. We emphasized the historical observances, the Alamo, the Goliad, and finally San Jacinto. We made a big deal with San Jacinto. Of course, we had our traditional meeting at the Alamo, and as you know, Masons on the Alamo Day meet at the Alamo, and they memorialize those Masons and other men who died there. We were fortunate in 2001 that the Lord gave us rain that day. It was very dry in the Bexar County, and they welcomed the rain. It changed our plans. Most of our ceremonies were performed in the San Antonio Scottish Rite because of the rain. We followed that with Goliad on the 21st of March, which is always a great celebration, memorializing the loss of all those good men as they fought for Texas independence. And then for San Jacinto Day, we had a great celebration. We were able to partner with the San Jacinto Association. We had men that worked on that committee for that celebration, and we actually participated with the San Jacinto Association for the San Jacinto celebration. We had a number of many Masons there, clothed in their regalia and their aprons, and we talked about those Masons that fought at San Jacinto. Now, I felt strongly about San Jacinto because I had a relative that fought at San Jacinto. which my Masonic roots go way back, and I've always been interested in Texas history and, of course, Masonic history also.
Were there many cornerstones laid during your tenure?
We laid several cornerstones during 2001. It was a banner year. I don't know the exact number, but we had cornerstones on many federal buildings, on jails, courthouses. But one of the more memorable was the releveling of the cornerstone at Baylor University. It had been leveled, I think it was 50 years before, and we re-leveled that cornerstone. They opened the time capsule, and cataloged all the items that were in that original cornerstone. We then resealed the time capsule, created another time capsule, and re-leveled that cornerstone. It was an exciting time.
Did you receive any honors from groups during your year as Grandmaster?
It's funny that you talk about honors. When you go to speak at any kind of celebration, they'll often present you with the key to the city or some other information like that. And I consider that a presentation to the Grandmaster. It wasn't done for me because I just happened to be there as Grandmaster. There were many celebrations throughout the year of lodge anniversaries. We did a lot of lodge installation of officers. Lodges install their officers after the 24th of June and before the end of July. I was reminded of one recently in Fort McCavitt when we installed 18 lodges at the same time. On the Fort McCavitt grounds out, if you know, is out in West Texas. It was a great day, and as Grandmaster, it was quite an easy task. You might think that installing that many lodges would be difficult, but it was easy for me. It was the Grand Marshal who had the problem. Because, the installing marshal presents the worshipful master at the altar, and he had to go scurry around and find the worshipful masters. And then he had to present the senior wardens. And, of course, those lodges out there work together, and there are many interlocking and exchanged officers. So it was reasonably frantic. It was the first time that they had all gotten together for a picnic, had a barbecue dinner that was wonderful. And then had that installation of officers. I talked to one of those fellows that I installed in 01, and they said they have done it a couple of times since, but never with that kind of crowd. They remember it well, and they're so appreciative. But gosh, just because it was 8 or 10 hours from Dallas, it just meant we had a long way to go to get started.
What about the future of Masonry? How do you perceive its outlook?
Trying to look to the future is really difficult. I don't know if you know or not that I serve on the Masonic Renewal Committee. It's a committee of the Conference of Grandmasters of North America. And our job is to develop materials for Grand Lodges and for constituent lodges. We focused in the last couple of years, and I'm chairman of that in 2007, we've developed several programs for mentoring and for developing new leadership skills and planning skills to try to give Grand Lodges some tools to help in their leadership training. One of the things that we've discovered are the generations, and we've identified through Putnam's book and some others that there are distinct generations that react differently. The traditionalists are those that were born before 1946, and they are very structured. They believe and follow the leader. They do exactly what they're told without question. The traditionalists usually have 1 or 2 jobs in their lifetime. They lived in one place. They had one wife. The divorce rate was like 5% for the traditionalists. And then came the baby boomers, those born after 46 and before 1960. And the baby boomers brought us the 60-hour work week. They were so devoted to making more money. They wanted it now that they were willing to work 60 hours a week if necessary. And so they didn't have time for Masonic organizations or service organizations. They also had a divorce rate of about 55%. Okay, there's a message there. They moved, they changed jobs a lot. They were willing to change for more money. That was their major motivation. The next generation are the Gen Xers, and they are the results of the baby boomers. They're latchkey kids. They grew up in single family homes. They probably had a mother that raised them and not a father, or a father and not a mother. Most of them didn't have a good role models. So they were very interested in self-development. They were very independent, but also they were interested in helping other people. Then the next generation, those that are turning 20 right now, born after 1980, 81, are called the millennials. And this generation is a result of the latchkey kids, and they were brought up with the importance of the family. They had more two-parent families, and so they had a better structure to grow up in. Plus, they want to put something back into the community. Long story, I know, to tell you that I think the future of Masonry is fantastic in the next few years. We are about to receive the benefit of this new generation. These young guys that are joining the lodges today, and they don't want to just join and not do anything. They want the lodge to do something. They don't want to sit there and like our fathers used to do and say, we didn't do it that way before. They want to get out in the community and do something. Now, they sometimes are a little overzealous, and they need to understand the rules that we operate within. But gosh, what kind of enthusiasm is that going to bring us? I believe the future of Texas Freemasonry is vibrant. I think it's going to be wonderful, and I'm excited to look forward to it.
I know you are proud of the contributions you have made for the Grand Lodge. Can you tell us about them?
I'm really proud of the Grand Lodge Assurance Program, and mainly because nobody knows I did it, okay? And I want your history to know that I did it someday, because it was good. The second thing I did was the Warden's Retreat Program. When I was on Joe Region's planning team. Joe Region was Grandmaster in 97, and we talked about the need for better lodge leaders and how were we going to develop lodge leadership. This was the early days of the internet, and I discovered on the internet through some conversations that the Grand Lodge of California had a training program for lodge officers called the Warden's Retreats. So I called California and found out about it. They were having a retreat in March, as I recall. So my wife and I flew to California. We didn't do this at Grand Lodge expense. We just went out there and made connections. We registered, stayed at just like all their other lodge officers, and I went through that Warden's Retreat program. It was a great program. Stan Casno was a past Grandmaster, was the one who was running the program at that time. Became good friends with Stan and Gloria, and still to this day correspond with them. But they were open. They were willing to share everything. So we brought all of their material back, talked to Joe Region in planning this, and he blessed it. We were preparing to do the Warden's Retreat program. We decided we would do one retreat and see how it worked, and we would do it in August of the following year. Bob Walker was then Grandmaster and said, why are you going to wait till next year to do it? I said, well, we need a while to get ready for it. And this was March or April of the year before. He says, well, you can do it. And so Bob Walker said, I want you to do it this year. So we did. At his insistence, we did the first Warden's Retreat in Dallas. It worked well, and we copied essentially most of what California did. Now, we changed a few things. We involved the Grand Lodge officers more because we thought it would strengthen the retreats. And the Grand Lodge line officers supported it. The following year, we added Houston and San Antonio. We then added West Texas, but we molded that program over the years, and so today they're doing 6 retreats a year. But the origin of it was a California deal. We went back to California in 96 to go again to the retreat, because the first time you see something, I can never remember it all. So we went back and saw it again. They had made a few innovations in their program. We brought those back. And it's essentially the same program we have today. Now, when Mike Wiggins took it over, whatever year that was, 02 or 03, I think, Mike did some magnificent things with the retreat. After Mike Wiggins was chairman of the Masonic Education Service, the teams that followed him have continued to improve the retreats, and I think it's better today than, of course, when we did it originally. It's been a great educational tool, and it's training about 300 new lodge officers a year, and that's really great.
Tell us how Masonry has touched your life.
Well, to talk about myself is always uncomfortable, but I am married. My wife, Marlene, is currently serving as the Supreme Deputy of the International Order of Rainbow for Girls in Texas. So she's essentially responsible for the Rainbow Girls in Texas. I joined the lodge because of Rainbow Girls. When I was 18, I was a D-Malay when I grew up in Big Spring, Texas. I grew up when you could see places out there out west. My dad was an active Mason, and I was a D-Malay, served as master counselor of my chapter. When I turned 21, my dad gave me a petition, and I didn't have time for that. I was attending the University of Texas, got married, still didn't have time. When we moved then to Dallas after college, I went to Boston, Atlanta, came back to Dallas, and at that point, my wife joined the Eastern Star because her dad was a Mason, and so she joined the Eastern Star so that she could work with the Rainbow Girls. My oldest daughter then joined Rainbow Girls, and I couldn't go. Although my wife and I had worked with the kids at church, we were choir parents many times, and so we were always involved helping the kids. When she joined Rainbow, it occurred to me that, I was told I couldn't come because I wasn't a Mason. And I said, well, maybe Daddy was right. And so I then decided that I maybe ought to pursue that. It happened at the time that I was chairman of the finance committee of my church in Richardson, and the treasurer of the church, LSP Clark, was a good friend, and I knew Ellis was a Mason, and so I asked him Sunday about being a Mason. And this man almost cried. He said that I've been hinting to you for months and months, but see, I don't hear hints. I've never heard hints. And so I finally asked him the right question. He got me a petition, petitioned Richardson Lodge, and was surprised to find all the people I knew that were members of that lodge. Joined the lodge, got involved immediately. Of course, I joined it because of Rainbow. I wanted to go to Rainbow. I didn't want to be a Mason necessarily. So that's why I joined. So that's my first involvement. I was an officer the next year and progressed through the line of officers at Richardson Lodge. So, and had a lot of accomplishments as master of that lodge. A lot of the changes that we made back then, you've heard the expression that we've never done it that way before. They said that when we started publishing a monthly bulletin at Richardson. And they said that when we started having a meal at every stated meeting. But they do that all the time now, and that was 79, so I guess it must have been okay. So then working for Grand Lodge was also been a fun thing for me. I started actually in 88, 89, when Leonard Harvey was Deputy Grandmaster, was preparing to be Grandmaster, and I had talked to him many times. I worked in the insurance business since I got out of college, so I was familiar with insurance. It was Leonard's vision that we form an insurance committee in Grand Lodge to be able to purchase, for the lodges to purchase insurance for their lodge buildings. And so in 89, when he became Grandmaster, I was appointed to the committee, Special Assignments Committee, and our special assignment was to develop an insurance program for Grand Lodges. We worked on that actively. We didn't get it finished in 89. One of my great failures, and I didn't finish it for Leonard. But A.D. Hanna was the Grandmaster in 1990. He reappointed the same committee, and we did accomplish that. In 1990, we established the Grand Lodge Insurance Fund, and that program is alive today. We were able to buy insurance through insurance companies collectively at a lower rate than lodges could buy it individually. So it's been that was, I thought, a great contribution. Really enjoyed doing that because it's one of those behind-the-scenes things also. In 1991, and I was a district deputy, by the way, in 1990 for A.D. Hanna, who was Grandmaster that year. And it was a great job to be a district deputy. In 1991, J.P. Vogel was Grandmaster, and they decided at the last minute to change their Grandmasters conference programs. And he called Leonard Harvey and asked Leonard to do a program on endowed memberships. And he asked me to do a program on the Grand Lodge Insurance Program. So I put together a PowerPoint, and of course in that age it was pretty early for PowerPoints. And Leonard Harvey and I traveled the state with J.P. Vogel doing his conferences. And I really enjoyed that because it was, again, a way to work in the background. My good friend and mentor, Joe Regan, was active with Bob Snell, who served as Grandmaster in 93. And I was invited to serve on Bob Snell's planning team. Just loved doing that. It was one of the greatest things. The state coordinator for that year, for 93, was Mike Nanny. You may remember that name. He had two assistant state coordinators, Vernon Burke and myself. So Vernon and Mike and I, and also actually Ron Park and Orville O'Neill was part of that team. We traveled the state with Bob Snell, keeping up with him. And so that was, again, another chance that I got to work behind the scenes in doing things. And now that Bob's gone, I can tell you that I wrote all of his speeches for him. All the articles, his Grandmaster's messages in the magazine, he would always wait until the day before it was due. He'd call me and we'd talk about what he wanted to talk about. I would write something for him and fax it to him. We didn't have email. He would mark it up, send it back, and we'd end up with that. And so if you'll read the graduation speech at the Masonic Home and School for 93, it's one of my very favorite ones. And of course, I've never been able to say that until after Bob's gone. He was a great guy.
Give us a brief bio on yourself.
Okay. David Benton Dibrell, born in San Antonio, Texas, 26 May 1938 at the Nix Hospital. My dad was a football coach and therefore moved around a lot, either positively or negatively. Ended up in Big Spring, Texas, where he decided he was tired of moving, and we settled there in 1947. He opened a sporting goods store and ran that until his death. Married my wife Marlene, moved to Big Spring also later than I did. We attended high school together, attended Howard County Junior College there in Big Spring, then the University of Texas in Austin. I have two daughters, Jody, who is a title examiner in Dallas, and a daughter, Jill, who is director of music of St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Wilmette, Illinois. Jill is the educated one in the family. She's got her bachelor's in mathematics, her MBA from TCU, her organ performance bachelor's from TCU, her master's in music theory from Rensselaer University, and finally her doctor of music performance and organ performance from Rensselaer University. She likes going to school. I worked in the computer business all my term of my working life for insurance companies in Dallas, and I worked for Honeywell in Boston, an actuarial consulting firm, Bowles and Tillinghast in Atlanta, back to Dallas for a computer software company, Logic Incorporated, which I sold in 1989. Worked as an independent consultant, discovered that was way too much work. Then went to work and ran an insurance company's IT department for about 12 years. And being an employee of a company allowed me the time to do my Masonic work, where I couldn't as an independent consultant. So,
I didn't hear your lodge.
I was raised in Richardson Lodge number 1214. I'm still a member there, an active member there. I'm a member of, also a member of Knox Corinthian Lodge, which we moved to Richardson in 1997. It was a lodge in Knox County that was dying in Mundy, Texas. We moved the lodge to Richardson to form a daytime lodge. We needed a daytime lodge for community involvement and conviviality. So I was past master of that lodge also. Then we moved to Knox Corinthian downtown because there were so many people from Scottish Rite Hospital that became involved that it was more convenient for them. So we moved it downtown. And then we resurrected Eagle Lodge and it still meets in Richardson. I'm a past master of that lodge also. And endowed member. Full member of the Texas Lodge of Research. Served as excellent chief of the Knight Masons. Served as master of AMD in Dallas. And I'm currently the puissant sovereign of St. Mark's Conclave Red Cross of Constantine in Dallas.
York Rite College?
Oh, yeah, York Rite College, all those things.